Shabbat shalom, everybody. This is Rab Shmuel ben Yehoshua, Rashbi here, Rabbi Stephen, with this week's Devar Torah, my 10-minute Torah for Parsha Bo. So before we get to that, I'm just going to do a little bit of a sermon here. Not really a sermon, just kind of talk about my position or something that I think we should be doing, and that is we should all be learning Hebrew. Um, Hebrew is our native language. It doesn't matter how you became Jewish. If you were born into it, you chose it later, after birth, whatever it is. I really believe that we should all know at least how to read Hebrew. Not asking to become fluent, not asking you to go to Israel and speak like a native, but I think it's important, as a Jew, to know and understand the Hebrew alphabet and be able to read it. When we get to prayers and we do the Torah, I know that a lot of people use transliteration. But this is the language of our people. This is the language that God used to create the universe. It is said in Kabbalah that God uttered two-letter combinations of the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph Bet, Aleph Gimel, to Aleph Tet, and then Beit Gimel, Beit Dalet, etc. And those two-letter combinations became the building blocks of the material universe. Now, those of you that are science-minded might be thinking, wait a minute, I thought it was molecules and atoms and subatomic particles. Yes. When you're an ancient person and you don't understand science, but you're able to look and see the universe, this is what you understand. So basically, what is an alphabet? It's or aleph bet in our situation. It is an intention. You're using it to communicate, to bring your ideas into the physical world. Creation, right? So when Genesis says we are made in the image of Hashem, that's kind of what we were doing. So it's important that we learn Hebrew. We understand the building blocks of the universe when we're reciting Torah. Now, back in the day, our ancestors didn't really speak Hebrew. It was really reserved as a holy language, for religious and spiritual stuff. They spoke Aramaic. Today, similar. Now we know that Hebrew has a modern application in the land of Israel. And, some of us speak English or Spanish or whatever else you might speak. Maybe you've learned another language. Maybe you grew up with a language that your parents or grandparents spoke. But it's important, I think, to understand that Hebrew. And I'm going to start talking more about it and offering opportunities for people to be able to learn. Okay, that having been said, let's look at Parsha Bo, and let's look at it with a different take, a different point of view. So in Bo, we see the last three plagues, the signs and wonders. What do we see? We see the locusts that devastated whatever was left of the vegetation. And then we saw the darkness that was so dark, it was an actual darkness. It wasn't the absence of light. It was such a darkness that people couldn't see. Even blind, I mean, even if you're blind, you don't know what's in front of you. People that were standing couldn't sit. They didn't know where to sit. People that were sitting were afraid to stand. It was that dark. It was that unknown. So it was more than just an absence of light, of a darkness. It was an engulfing darkness. And of course, the Egyptians worshiped the sun god, so there it was. Then came, of course, the third plague, the third sign and wonder. That's what they are. They're signs and wonders. God is showing Pharaoh and the rest of the world who God is and the fact that, look, I'm master of nature. All these little so-called gods, as it says in our Psalms, they're nothing. Wood, stone, the sun, the moon, the stars, they make their rounds according to God's will, right? That's what we say because that's the way it is. And God was basically revealing himself to the world in a sense. So we had the ultimate plague, the ultimate sign and wonder, which was the killing of the firstborn. So people say, and this is an interesting conversational point, people say, didn't God know who was Jewish and who wasn't? Yes. But God needed to see that people had that faith in Hashem. He needed to know that people were on the same page, that were on that track, that were following Hashem, that were going to go ahead and slaughter the kid for the Pesach offering, drain the blood, and use a little hyssop, the little I guess it was a weed or something, like the little three-pronged weed or something, and use it as a brush to paint to take the blood and paint it on the lintels, the doorposts, etc., as it was called. And that basically not just told God the destroyer that these people were Israelites, but the fact that we're with you. We're with the covenant. So we're good to go. And we will go when the smoke clears and the devastation is finished and Pharaoh says, get out of here. Okay. One of my main points of view and one of my big ideas when it comes to Torah is that it is timeless and it is relevant. It is relevant today, just as it was relevant 4,000 years ago, just as it was relevant 300 or 400 years ago, just as it was relevant 30 or 40 years ago. So the pushback that we get, people say, where's the miracles? Where are the signs and wonders today? And they look at things like the Holocaust. They look at the war that is still going on between Hamas and Israel. Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Iran instigating, and Israel. Where's the signs and wonders? Okay, so let's put this into context. The Israelites, our ancestors, lived in Egypt for maybe it was almost 200 years. And then, of course, a new Pharaoh arose, a new dynasty that, just ignored Joseph, that knew not Joseph, and basically enslaved Israel. And it is said that Israel was enslaved for about 110, 115 years, somewhere around there, around that number, before God singled out Moses and said, I'm remembering my covenant with Abraham. And people are going, where you been? Where you been the last 100 years? Holocaust, God, where have you been in the last 3, 4 years with all the devastation? People are saying this in this war. God, where are you? Where have you been the last year and a half, year and 4 months, whatever it is? My response to that, and I realize that, I'm sitting here real safe in America. Well, not real safe. We've encountered anti-Semitism here. We've had issues, not like they've had in Israel with the death and destruction and the absolute horror of what Hamas perpetrated, and the response from the world saying, well, Israel is committing genocide and all this other stuff. Okay. Um, but consider the speed at which Israel took out Hamas. Yes, they're making a deal. And a lot of countries that are involved in the deal are saying, well, there's no way Hamas can come back. Now, that's still ongoing. We're having these hostage swaps where we're getting 33 hostages in exchange for 200 Palestinian prisoners, many of whom are in there serving life sentences. And people say, how is that fair? Well, it's not, but we're Jews and we do whatever we have to do to rescue our loved ones. And if it means that, fine. If it means we're going to have to fight them again, which we might, then that's the way it is. But I want you to understand something. The fact that Israel is victorious, that Israel is overcoming, the fact that Israel is winning this and the world is looking at this amazed. They are amazed. That's why I think a lot of them are worried because Israel is coming in. They're defeating them. They're not going with a full force. They're not just completely leveling Gaza. They're doing their best to not harm innocent civilians. Let's not forget they're sending in phone calls and leaflets to warn them. They're trying to warn them we're going to take out Rafah, so everybody leave. Who does that, right? And yet God is seeing to us that we have victory. So I feel real confident in telling you we are going to prevail. Just like God smote the Egyptians for imprisoning us, for enslaving us and trying to work us to death, so is God on our side today. Signs and wonders. Okay, we don't have plagues, but instead we've got missiles, we've got ammunition. Those are the signs of wonders, and we're prevailing. And I want to leave you with that. yeah, we're all going to mourn this, and it came on Shemini Atzeret. We're definitely not going to make that a day of mourning because it's Shemini Atzeret. We'll probably do something else going forward, and we're going to remember these people, those that lost their lives to the horrors of this cruelty of Hamas. But you know what? I think in the end it's going to work out. I really do. I really do, and I want you to consider that. And how do we support our religion? By practicing, by showing the world that we are going to stand up for who we are, and we're going to do it just like Israel marched out of Egypt during the day. Not They didn't sneak out at night; they did it during the day. And so are we going to hold our heads up high because we are Jews, we are Judeans, and we have a proud history. We have an ethical and moral history. Okay, told you it was a sermon. Okay, everybody, Shabbat Shalom. We will see you in services, and God bless.